want to invite our friend and colleague, somebody's working with us now, Jonathan Harden, to come up. Give him a hand, everyone.
Thank you.
So, Jonathan, you started working with us recently. You've been in our profile training program. You've been around our community for a while, but we've been inviting you to come and serve and work with us at our Personality Life Path program. So you've been around a lot working with us, and you and I were having a conversation the other night. You told me this story. And I was like, wait, you can do that?
Yeah.
You could do that? And it was like, so first of all, where are you from right now?
I live in Missouri.
Live in Missouri.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Just paint us a little picture about your situation, your
very
life.
unique life. We live at a summer camp, animal science summer camp, 350 exotic animals. My wife is the camp nurse. She's the camp nurse, and she takes care of all the campers, and we live there and have a great time living on camp.
And what are your best fit type preferences?
ENFJ.
Okay.
Yeah.
So ENFJ. And by the way, I'm learning a lot from Jonathan. I'm trying to grow a little bit more of my harmony, extroverted feeling. So being friends with Jonathan, working with Jonathan, I'm like, oh, I can learn so much for how to be a little bit more, gentle with people is really what it is. But also what the crazy part is the thing, I thought that's what I was going to get by hanging out with you and learning from you, is more of a gentle spirit. Because I have an agenda often, like I'm doing this. And sometimes I can forget people when I'm on that agenda. So I'm like, oh, I can learn from this. But weirdly enough, the thing you're teaching me is like social confident assertion.
Yeah.
In the topic of expectations, quite frankly. You told me this story the other day at your camp among two students. I don't want to take your thunder. Why don't you tell me that story? Because I was like, you can do this? Holy crap.
And I think it's important to consider that the value is based in honor.
Yes.
So honor is something I taught my son, my oldest son, he's 13 now. And honor I describe as paying someone the attention. So when you honor someone, you're spotlighting their face. You're witnessing their presence. And that's the basic value before I tell this story. So we had two camper girls come in, and one of them had like a little bruise on her eye, and she was crying and she was really upset. And there's this little game called carpet ball. And she said one of the boys threw the carpet ball at her, and the ball hit her right in the eye. And her friends were upset, and they were like, can we get a Band-Aid? And I know she had like a physical injury, but I said, who did this? And she's like, oh, well, this one kid, and she named him by name. And I said, did you tell him that? She's like, no, I just walked away. And I said, well, where is he now? And I could feel something rising up with me. I'm like, there's a lack of honor here. There's a lack of honor that needs to be bridged together. And so I took care of her eye and everything. And I said, I'm expecting an apology. And we're going to go get that, okay? You want to go get that? Let's go get that. And so we went down to the carpet ball area, and she pointed out the kid. And he was probably, I want to say, he's probably my son's age. So I think he's about 13. And he was really good. He was definitely first place. He was winning all the games. And I pulled him aside. I said, hey, come here. I'm going to make up his name, Joel. I said, Joel, come here. I said, hey, do you see that girl over there? And I could see in his eyes, he knew exactly who she was. I said, did you hit her? He's like, yeah, I did. And I looked at him, I'm on his eye level, shoulders square, and I said, I expect you to apologize to her. You injured her. I expect you to apologize to her. I've never seen this kid. I've never seen her at all either. And I said, do you know how to do that? He's like, I don't know how to do that. I said, okay, it's very simple. I'm sorry. Say, I'm sorry for hurting you. Are you okay? And he's like, okay. And I sat back and I pulled back and just let the kids do what they're going to do. And I just tried to remove myself from the situation. I saw him, he took his baseball cap off. He walked over to her and he kind of shuffled his feet, and I could see he was saying something. And then she kind of nodded, and her friend is standing there with her hands on her hips, looking the silent cheerleader. And he walked away, and I put my hand on his shoulder. I said, did you do it? He said, yes, sir, I did. And I said, I'm proud of you. Thank you. And then I walked over to her and I said, did he apologize? She's like, he was kind of awkward, but he did. Yeah. And his friend said, yeah. Or her friend said, yeah, he did. And I said, when someone hurts you, I expect you to ask for an apology. You got that? This might be the last time I ever see her. But the value of honor was in that expectation. So I understood there's a strong foundation of honor. And so I felt confident to lay down and say, this is what I expect from you. And I saw both of these kids, random kids I had never met, they rose to that occasion. And when I told my son Theodore the other day that when I told him that story afterwards, because I like to relay these stories as like studies, he said, "Oh yeah, I know that kid." And it was something that he took away as well. So it it may seem kind of strong in that moment, but all I saw was this sea of nobody paying honor.
Mhm.
And I thought, well, this is my job to set the expectation. And hopefully he remembers this. Hopefully she remembers this. And I'm hoping that someone, even the kids watching as well, like, hey, there's now an expectation that if you injure someone on the carpet ball, Jonathan's going to make sure that you pay that honor and apologize because that's the right thing to do.
How did you define honor again? It was seeing somebody?
Witnessing.
Witnessing.
Yeah. Witnessing someone.
All right. And so there's a connection here between having expectations for how people are going to behave and honor.
Well, I think,
At least in that scenario.
say it again.
So I'm seeing a connection between, the connection was honoring, witnessing. It created expectations,
Yes.
right? And so
Yeah.
there's a connection between having expectations of how people are going to behave and
Right.
how they're going to rise to them, and the concept of honor.
Right. And because I think expectations can be arbitrary,
Mhm.
right? They can just be like, here, you have to be this tall to ride.
Right.
Why? I don't,
Yeah.
there's no science, there's no thought behind it. And that's why I said the basis is in honor. And so I think that's when we can raise expectations for our sons, for our daughters, and say, because if we don't lay the foundation for why we're setting the expectation, it can seem cruel. It can seem like you're just bullying me. You're just singling me out. You're not giving me what I think are proper expectations.
So what I hear from what you say is, sorry to interrupt you, there's a core value that leads to
Yeah.
the expectation of
Yeah.
some sort. And
Yeah.
would you say it's an extroverted feeling, a harmony core value? Do you think that's like, it's like a social core value? Like, I mean, is that kind of how you
I think
interpret?
yeah,
Like
absolutely. I think people should honor one another.
Mhm.
I think it's important that when someone walks in the room, you pay them honor.
Mhm.
You know, I think when they leave the room, you should pay them honor. I think when you hurt someone, you should pay them honor. I think it's when you're upset with someone, you're fighting with them. I mean, that can too also be like a fight of honor because you're saying like, I care about this relationship enough to fight. I care about this relationship enough to bleed a little bit. So
Yeah.
I think it's a very much an extroverted feeling value.
yeah. So when I hear that story, I'm like, you can go and be that assertive. Like, I'm assertive for myself.
Yeah.
But I'm not assertive for the social set, like the
Yeah.
scene, unless I'm in charge of it. Like in this space here, I'm kind of in charge. So I don't have a problem directing and making sure there's a tone here and making sure everybody gets along because I feel like everybody's my responsibility here. But in a general sense, and I guess you're at the camp where you feel like a little bit of responsibility, but it
little
really
bit.
wasn't your domain. You're in the
No,
you're the nurse
absolutely not.
station.
No, I broke. Yeah, it was not a clinical job. It was someone else's job. It was a value that I saw was being infringed upon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I really appreciate you coming and sharing that because I think
Yeah.
it's a good kind of a tone to set of how to be thinking about these things because I think we have personal expectations of ourselves.
Yeah.
We have expectations of people we're close to in relationship or family or partners or whatever. And then we also have social expectations that we have. And I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of disagreement about what those mean
Yes, absolutely.
in the world. And I think that's kind of what our challenges are, right? In society,
Yes.
we have everybody's got their idea of what the core values of the society or social scene could be. And I just kind of like stay out of it. I'm like, I'm just going to try to like, I get riled up sometimes, but I'm like, I'll stay out of it because I don't want to assert too much in there. But I appreciate the fact that you're going and you're from a core value place doing that.
Yeah. You're
Okay.
welcome.
Yeah. Did you have anything else? I kind of talked over where you were going to say something or are you good?
No, I mean, I didn't ask you this before, Jonathan, but I think that we wanted to have a conversation about, we set this tone of the conversation, but I wanted to ask some people, what are expectations that were placed upon them that understanding their best fit type preferences helped them to reconcile? Like an expectation placed on you that once you discovered you had ENFJ preferences, that you were like, maybe I shouldn't ride myself too hard about that thing, or maybe something that you rose to the occasion of. Does that make sense?
It does.
Do you have something?
I do. It took me a while to get to ENFJ. Thought I was a perceiver, even a INFP, ENFP for a while, just because I had clothes on my floor, and I thought, and I wasn't good at cleaning the house, so I thought, well, I can't be a judger. So thank you for that, by the way.
Any judges have clothes on their floor, by the way?
Yeah.
Show of hands.
Okay.
They're like
ENFJ
they're
right
like
there.
they're like sort of putting their hands up,
Okay,
like I
fine.
don't know.
It was a horrible stereotype, yes. But thank you for helping me with that. I used to not take responsibility in social situations.
Mm.
And I think I always wanted to. I kind of always, as a kid, sat back and just watched things happen. I remember a very distinctive time where I was, I think I was like 8. I was at like some Bible camp or something, and I saw this girl on that like metal merry-go-round that's now like outlawed because it's dangerous. And she got off the merry-go-round and threw up all her purple Kool-Aid or something. And I remember my dad, I told my dad that story, and he said, "Did you help her?" And I thought, I don't even know how. Like, I was so terrified of that. And I think, I mean, it's a little bit of a tragic story, but like it took me a really long time up into my 30s before I knew I'm allowed to speak up. I am allowed to speak up. I think I'm very much attuned to what's going on in the group setting. I may not know what's going on here. That's very complicated for me. But I think becoming ENFJ kind of was like, getting kicked off the ledge and saying, you get out there and you do it. And you, like, Babe Ruth, you're going to strike out more than anyone else, but you're also going to make more home runs than anyone else. And I think that's the power of like stepping into who you're supposed to be. You will have more battle scars in that arena, but you'll also have more challenges, and you'll have more experience and more wisdom along the way. That's the point in which you could become brave. And I realized, like, stepping into the expectation of using extroverted feeling, I can become brave in that arena.
Yeah, so something that had started out as a desire, maybe like a impulse, but you didn't
Yeah.
give yourself permission.
Right.
Then it became actually, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes.
It is expected of me to do this.
Yeah.
This is my domain.
Yeah.
And so it created it turned a desire into an expectation. And then
And-
you were able to step into it.
And the more using it, more developing the confidence and
Mhm.
realizing, wait, I'm apt at this. This is what I'm fueled by this. This gives me life to do this. And so even that kind of experience, and even though it was very intense, and I walked away from that feeling like, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, helping set these social expectations.
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so
thank
much.
you very
Give him a
much.
hand, everyone. All right. So